I think it would be great to hear from you, Andrew, in terms of what are the different types of surveys that businesses can do, and how and the process involved with
Sure.
doing that.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, thinking about creating that content type research, it's often quite a challenging process at the beginning to focus. So often we have clients come to us and say, we want to do a piece of research, but there's a lot of thinking involved at the start to make sure that research is as useful and interesting at the end, so you can really get results from it. So one of the main priorities at the start of the process is figuring out who you want to speak to in the research. So, for example, if you're a tech company in the retail space, if you're going to be selling to retail tech decision makers, who are they going to want to hear from? Are they going to want to hear from consumers? Are they going to want to hear from other people like them? Or are they going to want to think about something completely different? So finding that interest point can really help you decide who to target within the survey. Then it's a case of building a questionnaire, and often that's a part that can be done too quickly, and then at the end the results that you get back aren't what you need. So it's definitely a case of spending time, being creative, thinking about what sort of questions are going to create the type of answers that are going to lead to interesting content. So then condensing down the questionnaire, we take that questionnaire and we survey the audience that has been chosen by the client, report back on that data, and start creating those storylines. And if you think about, say a 25 question survey, it's not just 25 data points that you can use. It's a massive data set that can be created from a survey. You think, if you do 500 interviews in with a particular audience, you could then break that down by company size, sector, country, and then you can utilize all of these different data points and stories to create all of this amazing content. And that's where we're seeing such longevity with the research that we create. So
yeah, that's really, I was going to say, I mean, that's really been quite surprising for me recently. I know this year with a couple of clients actually that we've done research projects with you on. I mean, it's almost a full year actually that we're getting content created, maybe spun in a slightly different way, or at least referring back to the insights that we've had in from those surveys for almost a whole year. So it's kind of driving the content marketing program really for some clients. I just wanted to quickly ask you about sample size, and I know that it will massively vary from survey to survey, but generally, I mean, do you have I mean, I know that from a media point of view, we would say, I mean, if it's consumer, I think some outlets, the minimum is 2,000, I think that they're looking for. Is that accurate?
Yeah, for a consumer, yes. And I think there are two things here. There's one, which is what will journalists accept and be used in media outlets. And the second is what is a reasonable sample from a statistical standpoint. And sometimes the two don't line up perfectly. But I would say yes, for consumers, 2,000 is often in the UK. If you go to other countries, sometimes 1,000 is enough. For B2B audiences, it really depends. So it depends on how niche the audience is, what type of audience you're surveying, etc. So employees, for example, or office workers, maybe it's 1,000, maybe it's 500 interviews. If you're targeting really, really senior people, sometimes 50 might be enough. We tend to say there needs to be a minimum of 50 within each section that you want to analyze. So say, for example, you want to analyze in depth companies between 0 and 500 employees, but also 500 plus employees. You want a minimum of 50 within those, so a minimum of 100 sample size. But think about it in a way that is what is feasible, because if it's not feasible, then you obviously can't reach the numbers that you need. But think about it also in terms of quality. So it may seem good to have a large sample size, but if that audience isn't specific enough, then the results you get back won't be as interesting. They won't be as reliable. So there are a few things to think about rather than just, is it just the size that matters? It's all of these other things that come into play as well.